We're hitting the home stretch here on
We
Liquid
are.
Lunch, and we've got Dennis Chadbourne joining us.
More magic.
Well, to health magic, because Dennis is a homeopath, right, Dennis?
That's right, yeah.
And we're talking about what's wrong with the healthcare system. And we know there's something wrong with it.
Yeah.
But we're actually going to make it right.
Well, we're, the healthcare system really is about money. And we're spending a whole lot of money to ensure that we have health care for us when we do get sick.
A lot of people actually call it the sick care system, really.
It's, I don't know about the sick care, but it really is more about, it's going to get very, very expensive, and it is getting expensive. And really the people that are going to get the true care, the best of the care, are going to be the people that can pay for it.
Like bankers and government officials.
So when you say it's getting expensive, you're talking about, what we used to get that was covered by OHIP, now we're having to pay for things. Is that what you're talking about?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
OHIP, the governments in Canada are into a process where everything is covered. It doesn't matter if you go coast to coast, you're still covered under OHIP type of medical care.
But that's becoming fewer and far. Like, there are things that used to be covered under OHIP that are, like, even eye exams.
Right.
Right? So,
But you know what gets me is at one time it made sense to make the healthcare system public, and it was affordable, and healthcare was good.
Yeah.
Everybody got free healthcare, but I don't understand why now we can't afford things that we could afford before. Like, why? I don't understand, why is the health system costing us more and more and more and more and giving us less and less and less and less? I don't understand.
Well, because we're demanding more. We're demanding more when we, when we get into a kind of an illness state. We want all the tests done, and we're driving an economy of having better and better tests.
Yeah, which is often with very expensive technology that they need to.
We're almost into the point where we're so dependent on diagnosis, we forgot about what to do when we're diagnosed.
It sounds to me like you're saying this. It sounds like we're taking less and less responsibility because we're looking outside. Like, you fix me.
That's right.
That's what it's sounding like.
That more and more of that's happening, and the more the technology takes over, the more there's a fear factor that sets in. So the more that we go through life, the more we start to plan to be sick,
that's
to get
very
old,
true. Yes.
To as within a year to catch the flu, or whatever. If you're into a cycle of, say, like myself, an asthma, there was a cycle that I expected, and as I got older, and my body was less able to cope with dealing with the asthma, the more symptoms that would come on and the more severity it would come on.
So are you saying because you knew you had asthma, now you had an expectation that, okay, next year my asthma is going to flare up just like it always did in July or August? Yeah. So it's, it's almost like what we were talking with Baldini. It's like you fill in the blanks with expectations.
Yes.
And that's what he said magic was, is when you have an expectation and it's not met.
Yes.
So it's a similar thing on the health front.
We set up a great system, I think. It's just gone too far.
Okay.
The hospitals are now specializing in specific illnesses instead of being just a general hospital where if you had a problem, you'd go. And they'd diagnose you, give you something for it, and then you'd leave. And or you'd stay overnight or for 3 nights. Now you don't even stay overnight. They send you home, and they give you medication that might or might not work. It's still a good system, but it's coming to the point where there's no solutions. There's no long-term solutions for people to get ill.
Right.
Well, one thing I notice, with the hospital care system, and I don't think I think homeopathy or homeopathy is exactly the opposite. Is having experienced elders with health issues, what they do, it's a very band-aid approach. What they do is they fix what's going on, but they don't look at what happens when you get home. Where's the rest of the story? Where's the lifestyle? What is it you're going home to? I'm just fixing my end of the bargain. You're coming in because you have a sore stomach. I'm fixing that. You're on your own once I deal with a sore stomach. And if you get it again, you come back in. Too bad. I'm not about trying to work with you in a more, integrative approach.
That's right. Yeah.
Right, and so everybody comes, and that might be one of the reasons why people continue to come back into the hospital, because we're not filling in those gaps.
Well, I know a lot of the health problems are caused by medication that's poorly prescribed, or that multiple doctors prescribing multiple medications to patients without even looking at the drug interactions.
That's right. That's right. It's there is a lot of complication. There is a lot of freedom in where you can get treated, and if you don't like a treatment that this doctor's doing, go to the next one until you find one. And then there's people with multiple doctors, and the doctors know this, and the system knows it, and really that creates a complication in itself. What I'm, my objective, my company's objective in the third stage of business is to recover people's health so that they can afford it. Make it like a very cheap health insurance over a very short-term period, and allow that individual to become healthy and continue health, instead of being caught up in the system like myself, the cycle that I had to go through, the medications, the increase in medications because of just the length of how I had that illness. So my company basically is going to, first of all, create very inexpensive treatments. And what does that mean? That means instead of costing you $2,000 to $3,000 a year, it's going to cost you like $50 a month.
So now we're talking.
So you're really getting into like a $600 insurance policy for your health.
So now when you're saying treatment, you're talking homeopathic treatment.
My treatment, yeah.
Okay.
The Cure Me protocol.
Right.
Because I still haven't found anybody that can take somebody's health and make it better over 3 years. And I want to make it affordable for everybody, because in our economy we can't afford the cost, the true cost of what I do.
But let's think about it for a minute. I'm just putting myself in somebody's shoes here. Somebody who's the cost of looking after them when they get sick. First of all, people, if they're not sick now, it's sometimes tough for people to imagine that they're maybe not going to be healthy one day, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
Yeah.
Good point.
The other thing is that even in Ontario, or in Canada anyway, you get sick. Well, yeah, it costs thousands and thousands of dollars, but you're not paying it as the patient, right?
That's
like
right.
It's the taxpayer.
Yep.
Or the government that has to foot the bill, right? So we are, in a way, we're insulated from the cost of our own healthcare in the traditional healthcare systems.
That's right.
How do you get the idea across to people that they should really, pay attention to this, that it's important?
When you talk to an individual about themselves, it's really not a significant issue for them. But if you talk to them about a family, like the fourth stage of what I want to do is I want to take what I do, teach it to one of the people in a family unit to allow them to look after the responsibility of the family. And it's quite easy. And if you can do that multiple times, then you take that fear factor out of whatever the family has in their cycles. Then you can take that fear out of it.
Well, and you know what? And we are starting to feel the effects. I mean, we were quite sheltered from it, but now, like I said, we are starting to pay costs here and there, $30 here, $50 there. It's $120 for an eye exam. You know, so we are starting now to feel that impact. And to be honest, okay, if people are having to pay for it, like prostate and all those kinds of things. So if you are minimizing the symptoms through doing things like this, I'd much rather put my money into something that's homeopathic than going to see somebody for a prostate exam.
Yeah, particularly if you're talking about prostate, that you find out that it's something like a cancer or some sort of a nervous system distorted that's interfering with the process of the prostate. Whatever it is, you're buying time with your health by doing what I do with my program.
I think a lot it's also making me think there's a lot of I've seen a lot lately of conditions that people are experiencing, and it's difficult for the medical system to put a label on it.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of stuff that's just like it's it's hard to say you've got this, you got that. It's just a general overall they're just not feeling 100%, right? It's an overall systemic problem that's hard to put a label on.
That's right.
And I think too that when you do go to see these doctors, it's very impersonal.
Yeah.
And they don't really ask you all these probing questions. They ask you questions to see if you fit within a certain formula. That's the feeling that I get.
Right.
Is that it's like, okay, so I'm going to have this theory. I'm going to ask you questions to see if you fit into this theory. Right. I'm not asking you how you live your life.
Right.
Or what stresses you.
Yeah, it's almost like treating it like not on a patient basis. You're not treating the patient as a patient. You're looking at it as a bundle of symptoms, and you treat all those symptoms.
Right, and really, from a society, we've created it ourselves. We've created the environment that the doctors and hospitals have to operate in. But we're also creating an expectation as a society for more.
Right.
Right. So if you can, one of the things that I see is they project $5,000 per year per patient is what our health system is going to cost them. What's happening now is they're cutting back services, so a lot of people are putting together insurance bundles. But it's almost like they're saving. They're saving for the day that they get sick, so they can cover the cost of being sick. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is becoming more of, not so much. It's more about the insurance side of things.
Okay.
And if in the States, they have a little bit of insurance, but most of the people in the U.S. save for getting ill.
Wow.
That's what's happening in Canada now.
See, that's not
People
a reality.
are starting to
even.
save for that type of idea.
Okay, so what you're doing, you're proposing like an insurance, but more of a holistic insurance. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, why not spend
$600
a year for 3 years, get your health back. Even if you're not sick, why not find out what could be there? So then basically you're creating a good health for the environment going forward. And if you can, if I treat one person within that family, why not give them a package they can go out and do the same thing with their own family?
Makes a lot of
sense.
Now,
it seems to me, though, almost that approach makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
An ounce of prevention versus a pound of cure. But it's almost like the system as a whole, do you think the system as a whole has to adopt that approach? In other words, the mandarins who are managing healthcare in the province need to kind of sit down and go, we need to kind of work with homeopaths and other more alternative practitioners and think about the wellness, which is going to be cheaper than dealing with curing stuff that might not have happened if people were taking good care of their health to begin with.
Well, a couple of things. The province of Ontario is already putting into play colleges for each homeopaths, for Chinese medicine, for naturopaths. They're putting that into play only to protect, basically they're trying to protect the public from those professions because they're not regulated, all right? So then what happens is, what they're trying to do also is to cut down the cost of what they have to do. So if wellness works 25% of the time, it's going to cut down their expenditures by 25%. But what's really going to happen too is now you're creating business models, private business models for the homeopaths, and they have to work towards clientele in a private sector business model. What that really means is that the individual's not going to be real happy with what services they're getting. They're going to be worried about their health. They're going to go and choose alternatives that are inexpensive, and I want to get ahead of the curve. And I want to initiate that curve. Because if somebody starts to do it and it starts to become a successful model and it starts to change the dynamics of the health field, then the government will change.
I don't know what's going to happen, though. I mean, I think it's kind of scary when you look at the trends on the cost of healthcare as a percentage of the provincial budget, for example. It just seems to be totally out of control.
Well, we saw the actress, I can't remember her name, Jolie.
Angelina Jolie.
Yeah. And how she had to make a decision based on a medical diagnosis and advice of getting, the operations that she got.
She got both breasts removed, and
breasts.
she is cancer-free.
Today.
At this
See,
point.
there's a preventative measure that makes sense.
Yeah, she's a pre-viver.
A pre-viver.
But is it a guarantee? No. Is it a percentage of?
Okay, so now here's the interesting thing, Dennis. Okay, I heard on the Global TV that night, okay, that not only is this BCRA1 and 2 gene, that one that they say that makes you, 86% or 60% more prone to breast cancer. Now they're saying, now they've spread that and said, oh, it also means you're highly susceptible for ovarian cancer.
Right.
So now women are actually.
But you're going to find out that same genes can be responsible for all cancers.
Well, why doesn't she get a hysterectomy then?
Or why don't? But what if a year from now they say, wait a second, we made a mistake?
But why not kind of cut off the fact that those things might and potentially might show up, because they show up. They show up over time, and there's a lot of symptoms, or there might not be any symptoms until you find out. But why not take the preventative measures of taking out all of the cause and effects that would lead to that activation?
Because people don't want to take responsibility.
Right, until it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, it's much easier to do that than to take responsibility and say, okay, I'm going to put in measures so that I don't get to that position in the first place.
That's right.
Right? It's like a fix me, fix me, fix me.
Right.
Right? And that's completely the opposite of what homeopathy is all about, because it's about taking responsibility for yourself.
It is to a point of, even homeopathy is changing because of the variables that are changing with it.
Okay.
We have to think beyond, trying to cope with acutes, the acutes meaning the day-to-day things, and look at the longevity and why they're there and how we've always known that, but now that is the model that people will be asking for.
Okay.
I want to make sure percentages like
what she just went through.
What she just went through. If somebody could have told her 20 years ago that she could have come to me and we could have prevented it, and I would have given her, a 90% or a 95% guarantee.
Even now, she could have done that, though. She could have done it last week.
Yes.
Well, I think that was maybe a
But
big
that's
PR stunt.
But
anyway.
that's a belief system, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
There's a lot of, these stars are handled by many, many people and get a lot of advice. And those are the people that I would love to talk to, but you're not going to get close to them.
Yeah.
The people that are closest to my heart are the ordinary people like you and I.
So what do you tell people like me about what they need to do, because like, you know, say someone, maybe they're not really experiencing any illness, maybe they're feeling pretty healthy, but you know, but here you are telling them, you know, really you need to take responsibility for your own health,
Yeah.
and you really
Empower
need to
yourself.
think long term. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, what would you tell somebody that's maybe feeling good, but you know, they should be concerned about the long-term health?
If they have a concern, then, you know, that's when somebody would be talking to me. And I would be talking to them about what we can do to prevent that concern. Take the fear away, because this is going to happen. We'll take all the symptoms, we'll get the body to respond to them, and get rid of those response mechanisms. That's all.
Yeah.
The point is that the decision's going to become around money. Oh, that's great, would love to do it, but I'm healthy, and I don't
So
want
why
to
do I need
spend
to pay for it?
$2,000 a year to do this. Would you spend $50 a month on yourself? Is the other question. It becomes to money.
Okay.
All right,
All
so
right.
say they do that, and they come and see you, and for $50 a month, they can kind of expect to, you know, to budget. But what is their experience going to be working with you on a long-term health strategy?
As long as I get 2 years, you know, 2 years
Two-year
of health,
commitment.
and basically the 2 years is to get your body system up and running, and it'll show us what else is there. On the third year, it's more about how your body's going to respond to what it's shown us. From there, it's like once a year, and we just have a checkup, and that's like, you know, it's charged once a year. It's not a monthly thing anymore.
So the monthly thing is for 3 years? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a
Yeah.
total investment of $1,800, right?
Right.
Because 50 times 12. Okay.
Right. And that includes the taxes and the homeopathic medicines and the treatment time.
Gosh, when you think about how much people spend on fads, like the superfoods and even vitamins, a month on vitamins, or all of those oils that people, even coconut oil, and
What about coconut oil?
well, it's
We'll talk about that after.
yeah, but you spend a lot. I mean, it can be $10 just for a jar alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, people, again, they're willing to invest in themselves, but that's like some physical substance, right? They're saying, "Oh, this will fix me,"
Yeah.
right? So it's just the next step. Basically, you're saying it's an investment in yourself.
Right. If you think you need vitamins, as opposed to just eating a healthy meal, then, basically you're telling me two different things. The vitamins are what? To help prevent. Eating is a natural way that we do things every day. But the way we eat can tell you a lot of things about the individual. Why do they need certain things? Why do they react to certain things? It's all part of that, your response mechanisms. That's all.
Okay, Dennis. So if, as you say, this is it's a life-sustaining therapy, right?
That's right.
Okay, so, and as you mentioned before, it's really if you can get someone in a family that's concerned about everyone in the family and can kind of champion that kind of long-term,
Yeah.
sustainable health approach,
Yeah.
then that seems like a way to go that's going to keep the whole family healthy, right?
And you know where this concept came from is I'm starting to talk to Native groups and communities in Northern Ontario.
Interesting.
Because the fact that they're isolated, then I need somebody to be the homeopath up there that treats people this way,
Yeah.
so that they can treat 1,000 people in the community
Right.
and have the same outcome.
So that's a way for you to share your expertise and get other people to
Right.
to
That's
help care for
that's
their
right.
family members.
Because the whole problem when I was, it's one of my personal goals is to do this, but it was one of the problems I had to figure out. I'm only one person. How do I make this work over a large community?
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's
Dennis.
a great idea.
Yeah. So if people want to get in touch and find out more, what's the best way for them to do that?
Website, cureme.ca, and it'll give you all the contact information.
Okay. And then they can just get in touch and get the process going.
That's right.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Interesting approach.
Yes.
Okay.
Nice to see that you're doing something like that with something that's alternative.
Well, you know what? He's
You know?
he's taking a leadership position
Yes.
in the alternative homeopathic health.
Well, and doing what you can to make it mainstream, so it's not alternative.
That's right.
Okay, well, that's it for the show, I guess, Sandra.
And then we wouldn't have so many sirens in the background.
Well, that's not our fault. Somebody's sick. Somebody's not taking
Is that
care
an
of health.
ambulance?
I think it is, actually. I think it's a paramedics.
So speaking of leadership, we're going to go with this video.
Okay.
And this is a really great demonstration of leadership. Actually, Justin Booth sent this to me.
Okay, I thought you were going
Earlier
to say Justin
today.
Trudeau.
Well, you know, I heard some people think he's a fag. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
But he's got good hair.
Okay, that's it for the show.
Awesome show.
Thanks.
All
Okay, we'll see you later.
right. Keep it
Here's some
humble.
leadership. We'll see you next week here on ThatChannel.com.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore. It's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is